I'm always pleased when a gospel like this comes around where Jesus calls others to follow him, because it gives me a chance to tell the story of how I became a priest, a fisher and a catcher of people for Jesus. Especially pleased to be in a new community where nobody's heard this story before. This is great, new audience. I grew up in Danvers, and I went to Bishop Fenwick High School in Peabody. They would have priests come into the school 3 or 4 times a year, and there'd be an assembly of all the boys in the school, and this priest would talk to the boys about becoming a priest. They would other times have a nun come in and talk to all the girls. Well, a friend of mine, Kathy Toomey, we used to go back and forth from Danvers to Peabody each day. One day she said to me, "You know that priest that came a couple weeks ago and talked to the boys?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Did he ever call you?" I said, "No." I said, "Why would he call me?" She said, "I just thought he might call you." I said, "Kathy, I was one of 400 boys in the auditorium. I didn't meet the guy. Why would he call me?" So she says, "You know those little cards they leave for more information?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, I filled one out with your name and your phone number. And I sent it in." I can't tell you exactly in church what I said to her at that point. I'll just say I was dumbfounded. And I said, I was really angry actually. I said, "Why would you do that?" And she answered very simply, "Because I think you'd be a good priest." That was the beginning, the very first time that I thought about becoming a priest. Up until then, I thought I was going to be either a lawyer or a teacher. That visiting priest talk didn't touch me at all. Didn't awaken any interest in me at all. I never gave it a second thought. But Kathy planted an idea in my mind and in my heart. And well, you can see where it took me. So did my vocation come from Kathy? No, I don't think so. My vocation came from Jesus. Jesus, who nudged Kathy to nudge me to get the ball rolling. Back when I was in high school, I graduated in 1965. When we prayed for vocations, we prayed for more priests and nuns and brothers. We still need to pray for that. We do that every week here at Good Shepherd. Pray for men and women to answer the Lord's call to serve him with their lives in the church. But today there are so many other ways to serve God in the church too, in addition to being a priest or a religious. When I was first ordained in 1973, the staff of the first parish I was in consisted of 4 priests and 2 nuns, a pastor and 3 assistants, and 1 sister who was the principal of the school, and 1 who ran the CCD program. 4 priests and 2 nuns. Today, your full-time parish staff consists of 1 priest, your pastor, Father O'Leary, a married deacon, Deacon Jeff, 7 lay men and women, 6 of whom are raising families at home. Add to them all the lectors, Eucharistic ministers, liturgical musicians, folks on parish councils and committees, catechists, ministers to the homebound, those involved in religious education, those in works of charity. We certainly need more priests and more women and men religious in the church. But we have to have all kinds of active people as we do. The vocational landscape has changed dramatically from when I became a priest. Well, I'd like to call you to be more involved in the parish. There's all kinds of ways to do that. But there's one ministry that is right there in front of us these days. And I think arguably it might be the most important ministry for all of you to take on. And it's what I will call the ministry of pew fillers. A ministry of pew fillers. Look at all the empty spaces in our pews tonight. This church is more empty than it is filled. Now, COVID is a huge piece of that for sure. But unfortunately, even before COVID, before the virus, before the pandemic, it's estimated that in the United States, only about 20% of people who name themselves as Catholic were coming to church on Sunday with any regularity. 20% before the pandemic. I'm confident that there's not one person here tonight whose heart would not be lifted, whose hope would not be strengthened, whose faith would not grow deeper, were this house of prayer filled with people singing, praying, listening to God's word, supporting you in your prayer, and joining you in communion at this table. Unfortunately, there's no quick or simple way to remedy this problem. The number of people who used to fill this church didn't decline all of a sudden overnight. And the work of drawing people back will not be accomplished in a flash. It will take a long time. Frankly, here and in other parishes all over the country, it's going to take longer than the lives of most of us here tonight before we get back to full pews. The work begins with us. If it doesn't begin with us, with whom will it begin? We need to ask Jesus to give each of us whatever each of us needs to do for others what Kathy Toomey did for me. We need to nudge other people. Keep in mind that that's all Kathy did. She just nudged me. Then the Lord took care of the rest. That's what he's calling us to nudge one another. And he'll take care of the rest. Who might you invite? Who might you nudge to join us in prayer here on the weekends? Who might the Lord want you, particularly you, to go out and nudge and invite to come home to prayer? There are all kinds of obstacles in the way of this. Church attendance in faith communities of all kinds, not just Catholic churches. Church attendance across the board has fallen off in the last 3 or 4 decades. The image of our Catholic Church has been spoiled and disfigured in so many sad and tragic ways. COVID leaves people legitimately frightened about gathering in groups. And you might be sitting there right now tonight thinking under your breath, Father Fleming, I've been trying to get my kids to go to church for 40 years. My answer to you is, keep trying. Not by hitting them over the head with church attendance. You have probably found out a long time ago that that doesn't work. And remember that your simply being here is a witness to your children. They know you're here. They know you come. In fact, they probably depend on you to pray for them. Just let them know that. Maybe you could say to one of your kids, an adult kid, teenage kid, maybe you could say to a neighbor, a friend, a relative, go to church next Sunday. I'm going to pray for you. You want to come and pray for somebody else? Be happy to pick you up. They might say no thanks. They might just say no. They might just give you a dirty look. But you've done the nudging. The rest is up to Jesus. It's not always comfortable, that situation of nudging other people in a spiritual life. I can tell you that there was nothing comfortable for Kathy in nudging me. And it wasn't comfortable to be nudged either. But what she did, that simple little one line, I think you'd be a good priest, has brought me a lifetime of challenge, delight, satisfaction, joy, wonder, peace, grace, hard work, and the love of God. All because Kathy Toomey nudged me in the right direction. I'm sure that God is calling each one of us to do this kind of work. It's what disciples of Jesus do. They go out fishing. That's the point of the gospel tonight. They go out fishing for others. What do you do when you fish? You cast that line out there, huh? Sometimes they bite, sometimes they don't. But you keep going out fishing. Whether they're biting one day or not, you go out again. If we're not fishing, if we're not nudging, if we're not calling others to faith, then we're not disciples of Jesus. Kathy told me she thought I'd be a good priest. Is there someone in your life that you think might make a good priest? Is there someone in your life who you think might consider a life as a religious, as a sister or brother? Someone you might invite to come to church with you next weekend? Who knows? You know, and the Lord knows. Right now, the Lord is nudging us to come to his table, to be nourished there with the bread of the Eucharist, which is food to nourish us for nudging, food to nourish us for going out fishing for others. May the sacrament we receive here open our hearts to hear and to respond and to act when the Lord nudges each of us and says, "Come with me. I've got some work for you to do."